Hi everybody, my name is Paul Apps and welcome back to my oil painting channel. Today I'm going to be painting this lovely little rose for you. It's right out of my comfort zone because I do not paint flowers as a rule. So it's going to be interesting to see how it progresses. I hope you enjoy it. Let's roll that intro. Let's see how we get on. Okay everybody, welcome back. Now before we get started, I gotta say right from the outset that I do not normally paint flowers. So this rose picture in oil is something quite different for me. I have painted one or two pictures of flowers in the past, but as many of my friends and students will attest to, I don't normally count myself as a flower painter. That said, I'm going to suggest to you, I felt that this would be a nice image to have a go with, but I'm going to suggest to you that if you're doing or embarking on something that you don't ordinarily do, it might be worth doing what I'm doing here. I've got my panel underneath to paint on, but I felt that it would be just nice to get a feel for this rose. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm doing a quick sketch, and I'm just going to look at the salient points of this rose, trying to get the petal structure. It's not so much a rose, but you know, it's the structure of the petals that create the rose. That to me is always been my area of contention, and you know, sort of where I'm not quite happy, or at least sort of at home or feel at home with doing that sort of thing. So I'm just going to see how I go with this. And others. There are tons of leaves here, but you can make as much or little of this as you wish to. Now the size of my canvas is slightly shorter than the size of my paper. So what I might do is I will shorten up the image to about here, which I've actually indicated that on this tutorial. So the image you're seeing is probably a little closer to the image I'm going to paint, whereas let's quickly talk about some of the materials we're going to be using. Now this is a piece of simple picture framers MDF. You can see how it's about 2.4 millimeters deep, which is a standard board. It is in America you'd be calling this masonite or something very similar to that, but in England we call this MDF board. And it's got to be said that this is cutting this, always wear a mask. If you cut it or sand it, wear face mask. Better still, do it outside on a breezy day. This is put together with fragments of dust and wood and lots of glue, and that becomes quite carcinogenic. So never do this in a confined space. If you cut this or sand it, do it outside. Just a little tip. So the board itself has had 3 layers of gesso. The top one has had a color added. This is just a cheap acrylic color that I've added in, and from that point of view it gives me a colored ground. Now why a colored ground, you ask? Well, the thing is that if I put a dark on or a light on, I can see it. It's called a mid-tone. This is a warm mid-tone. You can have a cool mid-tone. It doesn't really make a lot of difference. Some people paint off of mid-grey. But the thing is that you can see your lights and darks early on. So that's why that's got that top coat. It's had a very light sanding with a high numbered grit paper. And the materials we're using here, well, my palette will be set out in the description underneath this and every other oil painting video that I put out. But this is something that's called Zest-it. Now, Zest-it is a brush, it's a solvent, but it is a brush cleaner, and it can also allow you to dilute your paint as well. You could also use something like Gamsol, which is another odorless thinner, and they all pretty much do the same sort of thing, but they're a little easier to use than some of the cheap solvents and horrible things like thinners and stuff that you get, you know, the commercial turpentines and stuff like that, which are not good for you, not good for the environment. Not that these are that much better, but at least it doesn't cause problems and horrible smells. So that's what that is. And then I've got something in here which is called liquid. This is original liquid. Let me just take the lid off and show you. That is like a fairly thick Sotropic gel. There is a thicker one that you can get in a tube, which actually is a little bit of dried stuff there, and that skins up pretty fast. So if you don't use it on the day, you pretty much won't be able to use it the following day. But this is the same stuff, but it's just a slightly thinner consistency. So I shall be using that later on in the painting, but not directly. So let's get that out of the way. Let's get that out of the way for a minute. Talking about brushes, all my brushes are Rosemary & Co. There's a couple of different colours. There's an ivory, there are some of the Shiraz, and some of the evergreens. The evergreens are, any evergreens in my collection tend to be newer ones because I swapped predominantly over to evergreen. It's just like the spring in the bristles. As for types of brush, well, you can see there's all types here. There are small or short filberts. There are daggers of different sizes. There is a long flat, and somewhere over here, one of my favorites is a long filbert, quite a small one. These are lovely, delicate mark. In fact, there's a couple there, slightly different ages, as you can see there. That this one has become rather more worn than this one. Not a big deal. There's a short flat and a very well used dagger, which you can see if I hold that up close there. You can see how splayed that is. Unfortunately, that is one of the things with brushes on canvas or on board. They will suffer over time and they will splay. They will not last forever. So be prepared for that. You know, don't think you're going to go and buy a brush and it's going to last you like a watercolor brush if looked after forever. It won't. It will slowly degrade and lose its shape. And my final brush, I always have one of these handy, of course, is a trusted rigger. So there we go. Those are the brushes. How many of them you use, I do not know. But they are there on hand should I wish to use any one of them. The panel, I didn't actually say earlier, is a 10 by 8 board. And I think that's ideal size for this little study. And the paint that I'm going to be using is some Winsor & Newton. And it is a burnt sienna, just a little touch of fluid, not much. I really want this almost dry brush. And I'm going to be doing the same thing as I did with the sketch earlier. looking at this whole thing and I'm thinking, it's so much bigger on my piece of board than I ever imagined it, a lot smaller. And I got to be fair and say that yes, it is turning out a much bigger drawing than I had anticipated it being. I could rub the whole thing through and start afresh, but I'm going to go with it. I think that's quite a pretty little arrangement. It may be a little bit big for this. Maybe that size would have been better on something, say 10 by 12 as opposed to 8 by 10. But I'm not too unhappy with that. I'm going to leave it at that. And that's my drawing. So now I'm going to clean off my palette. And I'm going to move up to a larger brush, which is going to be this flat. This is a number 4 Rosemary & Company Evergreen. Fairly new one out of my amount that I've got. It hasn't had too many paintings done with it so far. What I'm going to be doing though is I'm going to be looking at creating some darks. Now the best dark that I create, in my opinion, and there are a number of them that you can do, is using Ultramarine Blue. But to the Ultramarine Blue I actually will add some burnt sienna, and that makes a dark that you can shift from cool or warm depending on how much of one or the other you put in. And to that end, I'm just going to come in here and just literally cut in around some of these shapes that I've made, and they will suggest my background and the shadow areas between all the existing or remaining leaves to be. Okay, now I'm going to start mixing some greens. Now my green is going to be some Phithalo Green, but be aware, Phithalo Green, I always warn you, it is very aggressive left on its own. So to that I'm adding in other colours. For instance here, I've got quite a yellowish green, and I'm not sure if that's the colour that I want to use. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to freshen that up with some cadmium yellow. And I'm going to add some green to that to see where that takes it. Not too much green went into that. It does make it slightly fresher. And if you're not too sure, test it out. Test it on some of these colours. It's quite a nice fresh green. So we're going to put that in. That in there and the bit underneath it, and going down to the stem. Alright, not too bad, he says, hopefully, wishfully. Let's come in here with this long leaf. But maybe if I work negative space, I can actually achieve that easier. I'm going to come in and just going to pop colour in like this and leave that central section to suggest the veining somehow, and we will come back and maybe refine that further on. I've done a very similar thing here. Here it's not so obvious. Alright, I think I've done enough green at the moment. I need to balance that green off with the start of this rose. Cleaning my brush thoroughly. Get rid of that green. I don't want any contamination. I'm going to leave that mix on the palette because it will come back and be used. Okay, so let's come and look at our colours that we're going to be using for this. Now, I'm going to do my reds, my yellows, of course, but I don't want any contamination with my greens. I'm going to be aware of what's being touched here. Lots of yellows, lots of whites. Soften those colours off to a peachy colour. But I want to come in with a little more red and orange to start with, maybe even a bit of magenta, just to knock those colours down into these areas so we can have that lovely soft colour, especially in here. Make sure that you've got that looking orangey, peachy. There we are. Very subtle, very yellowish. I think it sort of gets a yellow colour. And I'm going to add in a little bit more strength of yellow, one or two places in here, just so that you can see that that gains that yellow sheen, that yellow colour as the leaf ages, turns out away from the flower. Definitely through here you got this sort of yellow colour, and you got that beautiful veining. And the same up on here too, we've got that beautiful striking yellow colour. is a little bit more red to that. So let's just come in there, take that to that point, lose that very quickly. But then we've got that shadowy colour, which you're going to come back in with some blue and some violet. Make sure that's not too much of one over the other. I've got a violet colour there. I've got to clean my brush because that's going to be way too much for what I'm doing. Let's just come back in, pick a little bit up, put that into a yellow, pick it up and mix it to where we feel that we have about where we need it to be. That's gone a little bit too yellowish, greenish colour. I'm going to pick a bit more of the red up just to shift that. That's probably closer. Let's just see where we are with that. I just want to put that in place under here, under this returning part of this petal there. You can see that goes in and it comes back to that shape there and goes all the way up to there. I think that's about right. Kicks out with this other section here. Now the value here to here is incorrect. You can see how yellowish that is, but the little bit of petal that goes into it is almost lost. So we're going to have to kick that up. So let's come back in here and let's change this shape here. Kick that out. There's that little bit of a lip there. Put that in place and bring that shape down there. I'm going to bring that down through there. I'm going to come back in with a rigger and put some highlights into the whole of this soon. Okay, I think what I'm going to do now is just pop back in with some reds in here. Nice little red statement in there. A little bit lighter as it comes down. That's a little bit of our bud. I actually see another one way off there. Let's just kind of suggest that. other green colours off of the edge here. Now let's look at this shape. It's a lovely hard shape on this, so let's put that in, take that colour out that way, and look at how that ends. So that comes a little softer through there, up into that shape there. I'm happy with that. Okay, I've got a little bit of warm white just to try that instead. It's a lovely colour, but it's not pure titanium white. It's got a little bit of a glow to it. I'm going to bring some of that into play, and I'm going to literally use a bit of liquid, just picking up not too much of the zest. I don't want it to move too much. Nice peachy colour. If you've got a mole stick, use it as a rest. I haven't, not for this job. I'm just going to come across here and edge some of these lovely little petals and give them that little extra kick. And then this has got a nice little colour lip up and goes into it, which I haven't actually got there. Let's just do that again. Picking up a little colour so it will work. Pick that into there. That's better. That's better. Okay, I'm just going to check that there. Check this is nice and soft in terms of shape. Hard edge, bring that round. A bit more yellow under here. And more I'm seeing a bit of that lemon, I'm seeing it in other places. I'm going to see it in here too. Just a little suffusion through there, suggesting the light penetrating that petal, just lifting it. And there is also going to be a little light along the base where it comes into that crease. Okay, now I'm going to use some of this colour, a little bit more fluid into it, because I want to draw some very thin lines. I want to suggest some of this sort of veining that's coming out from here. Not sure how dark that really is. Darker than I'm thinking, but not as dark as I'm doing. Got to try and pick that and judge it. It's quite warm as well as it's coming out. They also help you with the direction of the petal shape as well by putting these little lines in. They're like little eddies, little tributaries, and you know, you can suggest the fold of your lovely petal. As it comes down to the edge here, you can actually start to see those beautiful little colours deepening as it turns away. It's actually a little bit more lemony. All right, you can keep go. I think we've achieved pretty much what I set out to do. I'm going to make a few quick adjustments on these reds in here. Just suggest that they're getting lighter as they come down into the bowl of their growth as a bud. I haven't actually done anything with that bit of stem there, have I? Let's just quickly use the rigger to put in our stem in there and out through there. Alright, there's a whole lot of stuff I can do to the rest of this leaf structure, to be fair, and I haven't done. But I will be here for another couple of hours or so, and it would make the video way too long and you guys would be asleep. So please forgive me for that, but I've enjoyed the process and I hope you've got something from this as well. I think we're done. I really do. Okay everybody, one little rose study completed. I had a lot of fun doing it. I'm sure you got something from the process as well. Now, as I said at the start, it is a study piece and there are things in all studies that go well and others don't go so well. Now, I'm not saying that this painting is the best painting I've ever made, but certainly it's a painting that I created and it's a stepping stone forward. What I'm trying to say is that every time you do one of these, you look at it at the end and you take the best parts of that painting and you move on forward with that. And anything that didn't quite work out, you leave those behind and consign those to the waste bin of time. You just move on with the good parts. And every time you create a painting, you are improving. You are one stepping stone forward to the perfection that you are personally seeking in your own work. And only by doing these studies, only by practicing, will you achieve that ultimate goal. So that's what this one was about. I do hope, as I say, you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the content, please, it's a young channel, give it a lovely subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Do me a favor and hit that notification tab and the bell icon. It tells you every time I upload a new video. Now, it's not as often as I would like to. It's probably one a month at the moment. If I get more time, I will add more content to it for you to enjoy. So please stick with it. Give it that notification and a like and all those other things. And if you are following this, then and you want to do this painting, if you nip on over to my Patreon, there is an oil tier there that you can get involved with if you want to reach out and learn so much more and see the full version of this instead of the time-lapse version of this. If you want to see the whole thing fully narrated, nip on over there, take a look. If you want to get involved, you'll be so welcome to come on board as my latest Patreon, certainly on the oil channel. Now the reference will be there for you to download, absolutely free. You don't need to be a patron to do that. Download it, have a go at this one. There is also a Painting with Paul Apps page or group over on Facebook. Seek it out, ask to join, you'll be admitted, but there you can upload your versions to any of my tutorials, whether it be watercolor or oil. So with that all said and done, before I ramble on too long, glad to have your company here. I look forward to having your company on a future video very, very shortly. Take care, have fun with your painting, and enjoy. Stay safe wherever you are. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to be painting something there's a little bit... Start again then. Here we go. Hi everybody, and it's a study, nothing more, and yeah, start again then. I'm doing it, and as I said to others, hi everybody, it does better be, yeah, it better be. Hi everybody. Now with that all said and done, enough. I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye.